Yo guys, it's Mighty, and in this video I want to talk about the best budget mouse on the market right now. This mouse is of course the VXE R1 SE, and it is absolutely amazing for the price. Before we get into the video, only 95.6% of you guys are actually subscribed to my channel, so if you guys could subscribe, it'd only take a second, and it'd mean the world to me. Also, I bought this mouse with my own money, so all of my thoughts and opinions are, of course, my own, and on to the rest of the video. This mouse can be bought for about $20, counting shipping off of AliExpress. Some people might be turned off when they hear that the mouse is off of AliExpress, but trust me, I've put a lot of use into this mouse already, and I've had no quality issues at all with it, counting the feel of the mouse, the build quality, the sensor, as well as the clicks. Everything has been perfect, and I have no issues at all. This mouse is primarily a claw grip focused mouse. If you are interested in getting a claw grip mouse, this mouse is very similar to other claw grip mice on the market. It is basically a 1-to-1 shape of the Pulsar X2. So if you are interested in getting the X2 or you already have it and you want to try out a different mouse, this mouse is very similar to that shape. I will be comparing the shapes of this mice to the other mice that I own later in the video, so keep watching for that. This mouse uses a 3395 sensor, so it's up to par with all the current high-end mice, as well as is able to do 4K Hz polling with the dongle that you have to order separately. The dongle is about $20, so that does add to the mouse already. But from what I hear and from other reviewers, the 4K isn't exactly perfect on this mouse, so I would stick with the 1K that this mouse already comes with. The clicks on this mouse are also on the heavier side. These switches are Huano Iceberry powder switches, so they are relatively heavy, but at the same time not very difficult to actuate even when I'm using a fingertip grip. These clicks also have very little pre-travel as well as very minimal post-travel, so I don't see the clicks as being any drawback on this mouse, and they are very nice to use. The side buttons on the other hand do have a decent amount of pre-travel and also a decent amount of post-travel, but they are pretty good. If you do press towards the edge of the side buttons, you do feel a little bit more pre and post-travel, but clicking them normally, they feel pretty good to use. But when I use this mouse in-game, I feel no drawbacks with the side buttons, and they are perfectly fine to use. Coming on to the scroll wheel, the scroll wheel is very notchy. There is very distinct scroll bumps. The scroll wheel overall is pretty quiet, and it's not too notchy that I can't use it, and I did try this mouse out in Apex, and bee hopping and wall jumping was completely fine on this mouse. Another big thing you might notice is that, if you don't know me, I like to use mouse grips on all of my mice. With this mouse, I didn't feel like I needed to use mouse grips. I don't feel like there's an actual coating on this mouse, but overall, I didn't really feel my fingers slipping off the top or the sides of the mouse other than when I was really sweaty. I do feel like this coating is pretty good to use without any grips. Also, I did replace the skates on this mouse pretty quickly after I did use it. The default skates that did come with this mouse weren't the fastest. I didn't really like the way that they felt on cloth pads either, so I did swap them out with jade skates. So I would recommend once you do get this mouse to swap out the skates pretty quickly, just because I do find that they were very controlled. As you can see, there's 3 different options for the mouse setting. There's 2.4 GHz, which you connect to the dongle, there's off, and of course there's Bluetooth. I didn't really try this mouse with Bluetooth since my gaming PC doesn't come with Bluetooth, but I would presume that it'd have the normal hit on battery life, but I'd presume that it'd work like any other Bluetooth mouse, but I can't really comment on it directly. The battery life is very good. It did last me quite a few days on a full charge, and I didn't really find myself having to charge it very often. One thing that does make this mouse weigh as little as it does, which is about 50 grams, is because it includes a much smaller battery than the Pro Max version does. Coming over to the shape comparison, right here I have the G-Wolves HTS Plus, and the actual length and width of these mice are very similar. One big thing is that the HTS does have a more centered hump than the VXE, and overall feel very different in the hand. On the HTS, I don't feel anything in the center of my palm. However, on the VXE, like most claw grip mice, this mouse does very easily tuck into the center of my palm, and it's very easy to lock my grip in and not have this mouse slip around. I don't have any other claw grip mice. This was my first one. I've only owned ambidextrous mice, but I'll compare this mouse to a few mice on Elo shapes. Now comparing this mouse to a few of the mice that are found on Elo shapes. Like I said in the beginning, this mouse is very similar to the X2 from Pulsar. However, the X2 does have a little bit more of a back hump, as well as a little bit wider overall than the R1 SE. The X2 also does slope down a little bit more towards the clicks, so it does give you a little bit more of an aggressive claw grip. The Sora V2 has a little bit more of a back hump than the R1 SE, as well as being very slightly wider and being slightly shorter than the R1. The clicks are also slightly more sloped than the R1, so the R1 SE is a pretty good balance between an aggro claw grip and an overall nice ambidextrous feel. If you've never owned a claw grip mouse and you're pretty interested in trying them out, I'll leave a link for this mouse down in the description below from AliExpress and the exact vendor that I got this from, so you guys don't have to be worried at all when you're buying this mouse. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, peace.